Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today in the news is good for Israel, bad for Obama, and bad for Russia. Okay. First of all, what I think we're about to see is massive arrests. And I'm not talking about illegal immigrants. I'm talking about bad politicians, business people, bankers. Now, for those of us in the good side, we'll be rejoicing in the streets. But the bad is about to get very, very angry. The devil is about to get angry like we've never seen him, not in our lifetime. Now, you remember Dumitru was told the fall of America will start with an internal revolution, and in my opinion, that will be overthrowing the Trump administration in America started by the communists. Then some of the communists will start fighting against the Trump government, kind of like what we've been seeing with the ICE officers and the ICE arrests and things like that. Then the Trump government would be busy with their internal problems. That's only in the early phase of starting, but it's going to get worse. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, two of the countries you couldn't remember will attack and destroy America in 1 hour. With that as the background. Now, what are we talking about? Bad for Obama, good for Christians, bad for prophecy. So this is the article I'm pulling it from. Whistleblowers at the CIA, FBI now are coming forward against Obama. Now, even Trump has agreed he has immunity for things, official acts done while he was in the presidency. But those people around him, not so much. And acts that he got after he was out of the office, he would be accountable for. So he might not, I'm not an expert on this, but he might not have got off yet. Anyway, so they've signed sworn affidavits testifying in the Russia collusion hoax criminal investigation. Get this, over 20 to 40 FBI and CIA agents, and by the way, you've heard this on the news, and so why am I bringing this to you? Well, I will say it this way, you know what the news is, but you might not see how it relates to Bible prophecy. That's my job. So over 20 to 40 FBI and CIA agents, analysts, and whistleblowers have now come forward and confirmed that Barack Hussein Obama, our former president, number 44, was directly responsible for orchestrating and doctoring intelligence. Now let's talk about that for a second. How many people in America think this guy is and was just wonderful? The answer is at least half, if not over. Now, should he or some of his co-conspirators being arrested, tried, not tried in civil courts where they can wiggle off, but tried in military tribunals where they're carted off to some prison cell in the middle of the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean someplace, never to be heard from again. The devil's not going to be happy about that, and I think that's what's going to start the internal revolution. Obama was directly responsible for orchestrating and doctoring intelligence in a direct effort to frame Trump. Influence in the 2016 election to undermine the United States of America. DNI Tulsi Gabbard says that whistleblowers from all directions are now coming to them as witnesses in the growing list day by day. And all of the roads lead to Barack Hussein Obama. So surely not. Well, here's another one. Same source. 20 CIA and FBI agents have blown the whistle, confirming Barack Obama and his chief of staff, CIA Director John Brennan, created the false Russia hoax doctored intelligence to overthrow the duly elected president. I started to show some videos of this, but I think you got the point. I'm inviting you. I want you to come. I don't know another way to say it, but I want to meet you. I want to shake your hand. I want to hug your neck. I want to get to know some of these people that listen to Prophecy Club. So I'm asking you. I'm not just inviting you. I'm asking you to come. Yes, I know it may mean an air flight, a hotel, a couple of hotels. It may mean $200, $500, $1,000, depends on where you stay. But I want you to come to this. I'm asking you. I'm not just inviting you. I'm asking you to come. Come, introduce yourself to me. Many of you, I will recognize your name. Many of you have been following us for a long time. I'd like to meet you, okay? So come to the Prophecy, Healing, and Deliverance Conference, September 11 to 14. Now, it's 6 seasoned ministers We're going to be delivering 10 different talks over 2.5 days. Now, you can see the topics below, but today I'm going to just briefly touch on a couple of them. One is I've changed some of the things I'm talking on. Yes, I can talk on the mark of the beast. Yes, I'm going to bring you some new insight. But I'm also, here's what happened this past Sunday. I brought a talk that I thought would be over most people's head. I was talking about secrets in ancient Hebrew, and I was shocked. Our congregation absolutely loved it. I had, I don't know, 5 or 6 people come up to me and say how great it was. I've had at least 2 or 3 people ask me for copies of the PowerPoint, so I'm going to expand on that. There are some big secrets within ancient letter level Hebrew, and you probably have never heard this before. I'm also going to be talking about my new book that hopefully will be coming out by the time we have this meeting. I'll hopefully have it there. And it's called The Pentecost Rapture of the Bride. I think God showed me a revelation. I mean, I've been I was pre-trib till 1999. Then I went total hard post-trib until he gave me a revelation. And it totally changed my perspective on the rapture. And I'm going to explain that at this meeting. Now, that's what I'm going to talk on. Let me briefly explain what Leslie's going to talk on. You can pause and read all of the topics, but basically, God told her she was an apostle recently, and the congregation all agreed. We bumped her up to apostle. And she's going to explain the role of a prophet, all of the things below, and I'm going to talk about it more in other programs that we'll have her on. But again, I'm asking you to come. I'm asking you to go to prophecyclub.com, right there, prophecyclub.com. Sign up to come. Sign up. I'd like to meet you, hug your neck, shake your hand, sign one of the books. If you have one of my books, or Leslie, sign one of her books. We're going to have them there. It's going to be, a time where you learn some things, but how about just a time of fellowship? How about a time where you get to meet me and Leslie, and we'll meet you, and we'll spend some good time together. We'll eat together. We'll have some fellowship together. So come to the Prophecy Healing Deliverance Conference. So Tulsi Gabbard says that Obama may be guilty of treason. Trump is openly saying he is guilty of treason. The expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and treasonous conspiracy. Do you realize what they're saying? This is the leader, our intelligence leader, Tulsi Gabbard, coming forth and calling a former United States president a treasonous or guilty of treason. Now, those are big words. Let's go on. So Gabbard says, I'm leaving the criminal charges up to the Department of Justice, as she should. She says, I'm not an attorney, but I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document, the Russia dossier, then directly contradicts multiple assignments that were created by the intelligence community. The expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a coup, treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic. We're not a democracy. Remember the republic for which it stands, okay? In an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration. I think it's interesting the Democrats are now crying foul because what they did to Trump, now the tables have been turned. These documents detail a treasonous conspiracy I'm going to make a point here, okay? I'm going to make a very important point. Stay with me. You know this, but what you probably have not seen is how this impacts prophecy. These documents detail treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest levels of the Obama White House to subvert the will of the American people to try to usurp the president from fulfilling his mandate. General Michael Flynn says it was a coup against the United States of America. The ringleader is Barack Obama, and a lot of people in positions to know is saying this is what really happened. How's that relate? I'll show you. Greg Jarrett says these newly declassified documents destroy the Russian collusion hoax. In other words, Russia was just a big fat lie made up by Obama, carried out by his henchmen around him, with Hillary Clinton paying for a lot of the big fat lie. So, what does this mean to prophecy? I'll show you. So the big lie was that then candidate Donald Trump colluded with Russia to rig the 2016 presidential election. That was a lie. It derived from a phony dossier commissioned and financed by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Oh, surely not. That Obama's national security team happily peddled to destroy his successor. So we're talking about evil as high as it gets. It begat an even bigger whopper that Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump and aspired to help his election chances. This notorious deceit was inserted into the official intelligence community assessment, and that was ordered by Obama himself. So apparently Obama has his finger in the cookie jar, his whole hand in the cookie jar. He goes on to say this bogus dossier was exploited to justify the ICA. Conversely, the ICA was used to legitimize the dossier. The circular fall verification was a clever ruse. It was all a big fat lie, Skipping. It crash-landed on Wednesday, July the 23rd, when Tulsi Gabbard, the director of the National Intelligence, in other words, the National Intelligence person for America, says Obama, Brennan, and others engineered a false intelligence report. They knew it would promote this contrived lie that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people, trying to destroy our government. That's what he was trying to do. Now, here's my point. So if you look at these two arrows, one is going up, one is going down, but they all meet out at the red dot. Now, my point is this. What we're seeing is soon there's going to be massive arrests. Now we can see it. I mean, when Gabbard is standing up there saying Obama's guilty, okay, he has committed treason, which, by the way, my understanding is treason can only happen when you're at war, so it's not actually treason, but I'm sure they'll come up with a good charge. But my point is, I want you to look and see that we are heading downhill. As a nation, we're heading downhill towards the point when some of the people start fighting against the government. But at the same time, look at the bottom. Then from the oceans, we're seeing Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and other countries getting more angry, especially right now Russia, getting angry at America. That's my point. See where they intersect to the right? That's my point. At some point out here, Russia is going to say, okay, time to push the button. At some point out here, these massive arrests will reach the point to where so many Americans are angry. Now try to let's assume this happens. So let's say Trump does remove the Federal Reserve, the IRS, does move us into a new digital currency where the SWIFT system controlled by the international bankers, the Moloch and Baal worshippers, have no control over it. And there's massive arrests. There starts to be the rejoicing in the streets, like Jason Meek saw. And there's a lot of rejoicing by us good people, by the Christians. But what do you think people are going to do when they discover that their Constitution has been set to the wayside? And legally, a president can do that for up to 5 years. They can suspend a Constitution. When all of a sudden the United States of America is given a new name called the Republic of the United States, possibly a new Constitution, possibly if President Trump is not called King President or King Trump, but at least he's given the power and authority, how long do you suppose it's going to be before people, even some of the good people, rise up and say, we don't like kings? I mean, there is so much hatred in America for kings. This scenario you're looking at right now is a very real scenario. How long? Well, I don't know. I hope it's 5, 10, 15, 20 years, But I'm afraid it might be more like 3 or 4, maybe even 2 or 3. I hope it's a lot longer than that. Let's go on, though. So now the next point that I want to make is America is angering the Russian bear. This report says that Russia is now launching a large-scale nuclear or naval exercise involving 150 warships. Think about that. How much are they spending just in fuel? Not to mention extra man hours, okay? 150 warships, 120 aircraft, 15,000 military personnel across basically all of the 7 seas. What's that costing? But even more so, why are they doing it? I think it's a shot across the bow. I think Russia is trying to say, you better be nice. We have the hypersonic missiles that you know, or you should know, you can't shoot them down. We have 8,000 nuclear warheads to what America is 5,000, something like that. Plus that, the angel told Dumitru that the Russians have discovered where America stores their nuclear missiles, and that's the first thing they do is take out our nuclear missiles. Smart, okay? Now remember, the Russians, for many years, have been the #1 chess players in the world. They are not stupid. Chess is basically a game of war. Means the Russians are actually very good at war. Don't forget, in World War II, they were devastating when they took over all of Poland and all the way up to half of Germany. Okay, let's go on. Next article. Now, I have several articles I think are very important here. These are all from RT. This is a Russian newspaper, Russian information. But look what the Russians are saying. They're saying we're close to war. They're saying nuclear weapons could be a subject now with Russia and NATO. Keep that in mind. Let's go to the next one. Then they're saying Trump may fast-track additional secondary sanctions on Russia. These new restrictions could be imposed before his announced 50-day deadline. And if you look at the bottom down here, all of this is signals, Russians say, is heading to war. War between Russia and NATO. Then if you go to the very bottom line, it says secondary sanctions would not impact Moscow's policy, and that Russia would continue to move along our independent, sovereign, and sustained path. Okay, so if the sanctions don't do anything about Russia, controlling Russia, what are they doing? I think that they're making the bear angry, just like Dumitru Duduman was told. Remember that? Remember the bear? Men came along fighting the bear off with sticks. In other words, that's NATO. When NATO goes against Russia, Russia's just going to run all over. So says the prophecies. Now, here's some good. Further, from the Palestinian state. We have been warned, we have been praying, some 1,500 of us, in the Fast Track and Fast Gap prayer teams, fasting teams. We've been praying that America would not split Israel, not give the Palestinians a state, because that would be the beginning of the downfall of America. This article says all of Gaza will become Jewish. What? Wait a minute. Try to imagine that. All of Gaza becomes Jewish. Look at what the article said. This is the Russians talking, okay? They say the Israeli government is racing toward erasing, let me say it again, make sure you got that. Racing toward erasing Gaza. Thank God we are erasing this evil. All of Gaza will be Jewish. What? Read that again. Thank God we are erasing this evil. What are they talking about? Gaza, the Palestinians. They're talking about erasing the Palestinians. I didn't write that. The Russians wrote that. All of Gaza would be Jewish. Oh, there's more. Israel just drew a new map without saying it out loud. The Israeli Knesset has voted to apply sovereignty over settlements, drawing fears of de facto annexation. What? They're talking about annexing not just Gaza, but also the West Bank. I'll show you. In a significant yet non-binding move, the Israeli legislature has overwhelmingly approved a declaration urging the immediate extension of Israeli sovereignty over Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank. See this map behind me? That's real. That's where the Bible says, I'm going to show you, that's where the Bible says we're going. Extension to Israeli sovereignty over the Jewish settlements in both West Bank and the Jordan Valley. The motion, which passed by 71 to 13, was backed by right-wing, center-right factions, including the Likud, and it lists them. The creation of a Palestinian state poses a mortal danger to Israel's existence. I agree, but I'm glad to see that Israel is finally saying absolutely positively we can never allow a Palestinian state, and there's still more. The Knesset declares that the state of Israel has the natural, historical, and they're correct, and I'm going to say biblical and legal right to all the parts of the land of Israel. If you believe the Bible, I'm about to show you some of them. I can make a whole program on all of them. The Knesset calls on the government of Israel to act without delay to apply sovereignty over all the areas of Jewish settlement in Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley. Are you reading this? They're not talking about giving Palestinian state. They're talking about removing the Palestinians from Gaza. Now, I didn't write this. This is a Russian. This is not symbolic at all, Nimmer said. It means these settlements are not now treated, let me back again. It means these settlements are now treated as Israeli cities. That's the West Bank and Gaza. They're no longer occupied under military law. The Israeli ministries, not the military, will now oversee health, welfare, planning, infrastructure in these areas. It's not about theory. Did you catch that? No theory. It's about bulldozers, budgets, and expansion. What are they saying? They're saying they're about to bulldoze Gaza, and they're about to annex the West Bank. My opinion, good for you. Let's go on. To describe the vote as symbolic is dangerously naive. In Israeli politics, symbolism is often a precursor to de facto annexation. I've got further confirmation. Watch. What we're looking at, this is the question we have to ask. Are we looking at the elimination of the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip and Israel reclaiming their land? Oh, this is just today, July the 25th. So Trump was about to go get onto his helicopter. Then he was going to head to Ireland. And, of course, the press stopped him on the way to the helicopter. And it was about a 45-minute talk, and listen to what he said. This is word for word. Somebody asked him about the Gaza negotiations. We couldn't hear the first part of the question. His answer was, yeah, Gaza. They pulled out of Gaza. They, speaking of Hamas, pulled out in terms of negotiating. It was too bad. Hamas didn't really want to make a deal. That's important. So Hamas pulled out of the negotiations. He says Hamas doesn't really want to make a deal. And then look at the next phrase. I think they want to die. What's he saying? Read between the lines. This is Donald Trump. This is the guy, in my opinion, right now is ruling the world. He says that Hamas, because they pulled out of the peace deal, want to die. Is he saying that is what's coming? Well, wait a minute. Back up. What does this say? What does this say? What does this say? What do the other articles say? In light of this, I think that we can at least possibly, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, possibly say that that is an Israeli option. I'll say it that way. I think they want to die, and it's very, very bad. Oh, you don't. And it got to be to a point where you're going to have to finish the job. Read that again. Trump is saying it got to the point. Why? Because Hamas pulled out. Hamas wants to die. So he's saying Israel has reached the point to where Israel is going to have to finish the job. What's it saying? I don't even want to say. But to me, it's saying apparently Israel is about to clean house, I'll say it that way, in the Gaza Strip, and perhaps even West Bank too. For the first time, they have an American president willing to back them up. Let's go on. They really, they just ask for things. Don't forget, we got a lot of hostages out. So now we're down to the final hostages, and look at what he says. And they know what happens after you get the final hostages. What happens? What happens to Hamas after they turn over the final hostages? What happens to Hamas when Hamas finally turns over the last hostage? Apparently, I don't want to even say it. I'm not going to say it. I think you know. They know what happens after you get the final hostages, and basically because they don't really want to make a deal. I saw that. They pulled out, and they're going to have to fight, and they're going to have to clean it up. What's clean it up mean? Well, it does talk about bulldozers, but what else? If that land belongs to Israel, as Genesis 12:3 says it does, I'll show you, then they can clean house, can't they? What's that mean? I think it better if I not say it. Let's move on. So you want to see some scriptures that says that land belongs to Israel. I've made a whole program on it. Let me just show you a couple. So this is what was spoken to Abraham, Moses, and Joshua. All of them had this spoken. Moses, my servant, is dead, and now therefore arise and go to the Jordan, thou and all thy people, into the land which I give them, even to the children of Israel. Every place the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, meaning all of this area. This is Israel today. You see that little yellow point there by the big red arrow? That's Israel today. But according to Genesis 12:3 and also Genesis 15:18, you can look at it, this is all of Israel's land. So did they get Gaza Strip? Yes. Do they get the West Bank? Yes. Do they get all of Saudi Arabia? Well, every place that Moses put his foot on, yeah. They also get everything that is east of the Nile and everything west of the Euphrates. I believe it's the correct. Okay. So will Israel get back all of the land? Yes, they will. Because this is Armageddon. So this is when the Russians come down to attack Israel. And it says, in that day, they should dwell safely, all of them. So when Russia comes down to attack Israel, Israel has all of the land back. They're dwelling safely, all of them, without walls, bars, having neither bars or gates. My people of Israel dwell as safely. How many times? So that means a big war is coming, and Israel is going to clean house. When the suitcase nukes, I didn't say if, I said when the suitcase nukes go off, if you want your car to start, if you want your computers and your refrigerators and things like that, anything with a computer chip to work, you want to have one of these from EMPShield.com. EMPShield.com. And they have videos up there. It takes about 10 minutes to put on. It's not complicated at all. And if you use the word prophecy, promo code prophecy, you get a $50 discount, and it helps Prophecy Club.